back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're positively doing the Maryland Crab Cake. I'm going to take a little break in this segment. A lot of folks know Dennis was on the down low last week. He's back. It's all good, not COVID related. Everything's cool. He's here. And more than that, not just we're going to talk about Coons Baltimore Ford and the tech service where we're breaking news and calling up DL Hall and all that. But I made my way to Latrobe, Pennsylvania. I want to give a free plug here, Den.
Is it Latrobe or is it Latrobe? What is it?
I call it Latrobe because I have a friend that's from there that told me it's Latrobe. So I don't know if it's Latrobe or Latrobe.
Because Arnold Palmer used to have his a home there or a golf course there, and I always thought it was Latrobe, Pennsylvania. So I need some clarification on this.
It's like Bowie and Bowie or Tosin and Towson, right? So I got to hit my favorite sort of fast food service place called Eaton Park. So I'm having some chili from Latrobe. This is made in the motherland up there in the Steelers Nation, and they give you a cookie when you leave Eaton Park in Latrobe. And so I have this cookie.
Nice.
I'm going to be sharing this cookie with my wife as we tell some stories of the road. Then last year, I before we get into sports and all, how you doing? Everything cool? How's dealership? Everything?
Thank you. Just I have a lot of gratitude. I have a lot of great things in my life. Look, we're above ground today, right? So let's begin, and let's end our day there. Not just you and I, but all of our listeners and their loved ones, their families, and everybody in their prayer circle.
Absolutely, man. I am grateful for lots and lots of things right now, including 2 preseason games left, and we can have real football around here to talk about. And I know that's what we do, but. So we're out on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. And by the way, I'm going to be in Eldersburg next week at Liberatories with Dante. Next Friday at Rock Salt Grill. I have Wes Moore joining us at Costas on the 30th, the morning of the 30th, to end the tour. So I'll be in Salisbury this week. I have Ben Cardin on Friday out in Ocean City. So we're doing a lot of different things. So this is how small world stuff works, okay? I go up to Oakland, Maryland. Have you ever been to Oakland?
You know what? I probably have. I think I've had a couple of cross tournaments up there.
Okay, so tiny little town. Yeah. We're antiquing out in front. I almost bought the $6 Million Man lunchbox that you and I wanted back when we were kids, and they never got. I almost bought it.
Really? How much was it?
It was $15, but I just couldn't. Really? I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I didn't know what I was going to do.
You should have called me. I would have said, Nestor, I'll pay you $30 for that thing.
There you go. So I turned it into my own personal eBay journey. I didn't make any money in Oakland. I spent money. So we go out on the street. This is honest to God story, man. We're out on the street we were on last year in front of this antique place. And the stores were closed, and my wife looks down at a Ford Bronco Sport. All right, so it's sort of the color of your shirt, maybe like a little silvery.
Oh, we call that beauty cactus gray.
She called it cactus gray. So here, it's funny you'd say that.
That's what it is.
All right, here I was going to ask you what was it, but here's the story. So my wife is looking at this car on the street in this little town. There's nobody out on the street, and a woman comes running down to my wife and says, "You like that car? Isn't that car something? That's the new Bronco Sport. I got that. Let me tell you what I had to do to get it." So this woman talked our ear off. She opened the hatchback. She did as much as any salesperson in your lot would do.
Bless her heart.
For this vehicle. She was showing my wife, and my wife was sort of like, "Well, yeah, I'm thinking about it." I mentioned to Dennis in the conversation or whatever. She told me, this is God's honest truth, that she's in Oakland, Maryland. She had some Baltimore roots, which came up later. She sent us on this delightful lunch adventure to a little town called Thomas, West Virginia. You can look it up, where a woman made me the best lunch of the tour. It had nothing to do with the crab cake. It was a peach mozzarella heirloom salad with this dressing that was to die for. She made these little cheeseburger sliders that were fresh pickles that she grew the cucumbers, right? Like crazy lunch. And the woman comes out and she says, "I heard your Baltimore accent out here. You guys, I'm from Middlesex in Essex. You ever heard of it?"
Of course.
So
Middlesex bowling alley.
So that's the end of the story. This woman sent me down there, but the woman showing the car is the one that recommended that town that we went to. So the serendipity of this is crazy. But she showed us the vehicle and then talked our ear off. Small town, right? Like we're out in the sun. I'm starting to bake. I'm getting a little hungry. And the woman turned out to be a gem because she sent us at the end to this little town that turned out to be incredible. Nice. It's a great memory. But she was showing us the car and she wouldn't stop. And she started telling us, couldn't get this car here. They thought they had one, and I thought I had it, and I drove into town. I went over to Hagerstown, and then I went up to Greencastle, and then we thought we had it in State College. You ever been to State College? I've been to State College. We went up to State, didn't have the car in State College. It, wasn't the color I wanted, and blah, 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 blah. Finally, the dealership in Harrisonburg had it. So we drove to Harrisonburg. You ever been to Harrisonburg? She was like, literally everything I'm telling you was a story, but she was way longer about telling it, right? So 12 minutes into this, she's shown the vehicle to my wife, and I just want to let you know that, like, she was so freaking excited about the vehicle. She couldn't wait to stop and tell my wife. And everything you've told me about people traveling, that if Coons Baltimore Ford had that vehicle, she would come here to get it from Oakland. She'd have been delighted to come to Baltimore to get it. And she knew all about sticker prices and all about deals and all about add-ons. Like, she knew everything about your vehicle. And I just want to give you that, because that's the weirdest thing that happened since you put me in the vehicle last year and I got stalked in Ocean City for 5 days.
You're very welcome. Look, it's great when you have an enthusiast and an advocate for the product like that. And those people are invaluable, and we appreciate the business. Didn't buy it here, obviously, but you know what? Glad she kept it in the Ford family, and the Ford Bronco Sport is a phenomenal product, and I'm glad she's enthusiastic about it as I am.
Have you ever thought about going to Latrobe and getting Eaton Park chili?
Latrobe. I'm sure it was Latrobe because Arnold Palmer did a commercial. He goes in the tractor. He said, "This is Arnold Palmer from Latrobe, Pennsylvania." It's like saying pecan and pecan pie here, which is always a debate around our store, by the way.
I have a friend from Latrobe. She calls it Latrobe. My wife works with a guy that is from Latrobe and knows so much about it that he has a preferred pizza joint called Joey O's. So I don't know how they say that in Pittsburgh, but yins and that. So we're out in Rocky Gap. Beautiful. You want to do something beautiful, go to Rocky Gap. Loved everything about it. It was just phenomenal. We're going back. That's how much we loved it. I mean, went out to Deep Creek, and we wound up on this adventure into West Virginia the first day. We went to the highest point in Maryland. And then the next day, my big surprise, and I told you I had a surprise. Mm-hmm. On Tuesday morning, we got up, and we drove up to Latrobe. And we drove through these beautiful, crazy hills. We drove through Ohio, Falling Water, that Nemacolin that, all the women want to go to because The Bachelor is at Nemacolin. All of that is on that road. The 84 Lumber guy, I think that's his place. So we go up to Latrobe. We get there. It was like everything Westminster had without the hassle. Like, there was actual parking. There weren't a lot of people because they moved practice. It was wet and whatever. But this was like old school, man. Like, you can't do that anymore. Drive and be 10 feet away from an NFL franchise and watching them practice and barking at each other. You have to get invited to the castle. And I know, like, people get to go and it's cool. And Luke's out there and I'm not jaded 27 years into this, but I thought it was kind of like a really special day that if you were a Steeler fan, it'd be an unbelievable thing to do. That's all.
No, and I'm sure, Mike Tomlin always runs a very good camp. That team is going to be ready to play. Dark horse, not just only in the AFC North, but also in the AFC Conference. You can never count the Steelers out. Here's a head coach who's never had a losing season. And I think that's huge, Nestor. He's had injuries to deal with like everybody else, lost his starting quarterback. Starting quarterback got long on tooth trying to be nice here. And now he has 3 quarterbacks competing for the starting job. He's got a great running back. He's got a fantastic defense, good kicking game. And this team's going to be ready to compete against the likes of our Baltimore Ravens and the Bengals for the division title.
I thought that. I'm standing on the sidelines with Kabali and some of the Fittipaldi, the guys that cover the team, around the coach. Got to ask the coach some questions. Coach came over, gave some love. I showed up. Coach and I touch each other. It started pouring rain. So, for whatever that's worth. And he's talking a lot of smack these days.
All that power. He is. You know what? Coach Harbaugh always says a T-shirt, right? This year, I think it said, "Come to work, ready to work." Mike Tomlin said, "Bring it on." He said, "Bring it on." That's his motto this year. Bring it on. And I like it because everybody's counting him out. Everybody is. And I'm sure he likes that.
Yeah, they're talking about this quarterback and that quarterback and like all that. Then I wound up in Northeast on Saturday night at a place called Woody's. You've probably seen the sign out on the highway. Northeast, beautiful little town, right off the highway. You just make a right turn and you're in it. And it's like worth walking around and seeing the shops. I mean, supporting local business. We're talking about tax-free this week and all that kind of stuff. So we go in, I'm in the bar eating a crab cake. I had the crab triple. They had a crab au gratin, an imperial, and a crab cake. And I'm like, Sure,
Mm.
why not? I'm on a
Mhm.
crab cake tour. So I looked up. Steelers are playing, kicking the snot out of the Seahawks, right? And my wife's like, but what is up with the Seahawks? I'm like, well, that's their first team. They stink. They're gonna like win 2 games. They're in the lottery at this point. But I do look at the league and at question marks, and we have our own out knowing
Mhm.
Spills, and I really start to, as I sit here and eat this chili and I hug my little Steeler cookie that they gave me up in Latrobe, and I start to see players and see coaches and see the excitement around the game and wondering who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. I think the Ravens are going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be great. I think a lot of things are going to have to go right for them to be great. They could be great, but a lot of things are going to have to go right, including just starting with health. And they haven't even gotten off to a good start with that, with the center and some other things.
Well, speaking of health, how about the injury to Jets quarterback Zach Wilson? Right, expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks. Good chance we see one Joseph Flacco under center for the New York Jets, and what a great storyline that would be, Nestor. Joe Flacco against Lamar Jackson up at the Meadowlands on 9/11 to kick off the season. How
Luke
great is
and I
that?
don't, Luke and I don't fight much, right? I mean, if you listen to us, we certainly never fight off the air. I famously, like, I have a 14-year relationship with Luke. I don't think we've had like half a cross word on the air, off the air in any way as sort of the way we roll. But we got into it. He got very defensive of Lamar and the MVP thing, and I'm like, stop everything here. And I said this, and I thought about it. I didn't want to be disrespectful, but I want to give you, I want to say it the way I said it, and I hope it's portrayed in the context, because it just flew off my tongue. I said, you got to figure out whether you want to be the Beatles or the Monkees here, right? Because Luke's telling me about like screaming girls and screaming boys and fans yelling, and you can't hear yourself think, and Lamar is a rock star and like all that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Joe won the Super Bowl. Joe should have won 2 Super Bowls, put the ball in the wide receiver's hands, right? So, like, the fact that Joe's not anointed in any way here, other than, oh, we spent a lot of money on him, and at the end, and yeah, they never gave him any wide receivers.
Yeah, but there was some
Why
bitterness
do
there.
people pick on me when I defend Joe? I don't feel like Joe needs to be defended, but I don't know why I'm the only one who defends him. That's the really weird part,
Because Joe allegedly never put in the work. Joe was a 9 to 5 quarterback. Joe was good, could have been great. That's why. For me, anyway, personally, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it. Joe took his foot off the gas as soon as that pen came off that contract. Yes, the Ravens brass did let him down. They never gave him enough toys. However, Joe also didn't do the extra that the great ones do. My 2 cents on Joe.
Okay. Well,
I don't like 9 to 5 guys. I like lunch pail guys. First one's on the field, last one's off the field, in the film room. That's what I want. Call me crazy, but that's what I want, especially out of my quarterback, the guy who signed at the time the biggest contract in NFL history. You got to give the man writing the check value for what he paid you.
I don't know that to be his reputation, but I'd ask around about that. I can find out if that's factual or if that's speculative.
That's what I've heard about Joe through the years from people who supposedly knew and saw him, and he was 9 to 5. He just wasn't going to give you that Ray Lewis, that Ed Reed, the film study, the preparation, the work in the weight room, all the boxes that you want the football player, not the quarterback, to check.
Yeah, that's interesting, but he's still doing it, right? Like,
No,
he's
I'm shocked.
I
I am shocked. I thought that once that contract was over and done with Nestor, I thought we would never hear from him again. The fact that he's still playing ball at 37 and getting accolades from his head coach, I think it's amazing. I misjudged that part of Joe Flacco. Absolutely did.
I never did. I talked about fire and all of that, and I think there's want to do it, there's mental ability to do it, and then there's physical ability. And then in that sport, in that job, and Lamar's going to find this out, right? Who's around you? Who's on your team? How good is all of your team? And you run a team over Coons Baltimore Ford. I mean, you know what you're talking about when you have different parts of your team where one can excel in the other part. That's what you have to figure out when you have a $50 million quarterback. And that's something that if the Ravens are going to win with Lamar over the next 3 or 4 years, and they're going to have a parade and they're going to build a statue for him, right? I mean, if all that's going to happen here, and they're going to pay him $250 million and it's going to go well, it's going to be about who they put around him. And I would say at this point, when I talk to Luke and when we talk football right now, and when I talk about the Ravens outside of the market, they all are questioning the wide receivers here already, right? There's already do they have enough pieces? I would talk about the offensive line and say the Ronnie Stanley thing, the Lindenbaum thing, no bueno. The fact that the coach is talking about Dobbins is not being really ready the way they need to go. That sounds to me like Lamar's going to be running the football more than we really want Lamar to run the football right now. And that to me is always the formula. I'll stick by that. Lamar's running 15, 20 times a game. No bueno. You can't win. You got to be way better at all the other parts of that. That's the O-line, that's the running game, that's the passing game, not just Mark Andrews.
That may be unlikely, like Isaiah likely, right? So he looks to be a good complementary piece to Mark Andrews. If they can get some good reps out of him on passing play, clearly he can't block yet, as Rod Woodson pointed out the other night. But Rashard Bateman has to step up. If they don't have a wide receiver one, if he can't take the next step and make a leap, and it's hard to tell in preseason games. You're playing against third stringers. People are making a huge deal out of Tyler Huntley going 16 for 18. The Ravens don't need Lamar Jackson.
Oh God,
Huntley's a capable replacement. I mean, what are you folks looking at? You can't judge the guy who started half a dozen games last year going up against street free agents. It's not a fair comparison, Nestor.
I still remember, the cheers for Bill Troop and like the backup quarterback,
Bill
right?
Troop,
like,
Stony Case. I mean, you know what? Go
I'm too
buy a
old
jersey.
to discuss the backup quarterback with you in any serious, with any conviction, when the real argument is whether we're going to give the starting quarterback 46 or 48 million, and whether it's going to be 5 years guaranteed or 6, right? Like,
and they may not. Look, Lamar said, "I'm not going to negotiate after week 1." Doesn't mean that they can't come to terms at some point during the season, but he wants to focus on football. At this point, he's playing at $23 million a year. Next year, all bets are off. He'll be a free agent. Ravens can match. If they don't match, guess what? They get 2 first-round draft picks for him, and they move forward. And they're not tying up $250,000 on the quarterback. There's a business side to football, and both ends get a chance here to exercise it.
Dennis Koulatsos is always around. He'll be back on Thursday from 3 until 5 with great guests, including me and Luke. And we're getting ready for baseball and a little bit of pennant race going on around here. And, of course, he's out of Coons, Baltimore Ford, always getting it done. Replays on Sunday morning. You follow him at D Koulatsos Show as well. Are you optimistic on the Ravens? How do you feel about them and where they are right now in their place? Because that's part of me going up to Latrobe and seeing the Steelers and watching preseason football. Is I'm trying to feel the cosmos a little bit here, because I think it's going to be an exciting football season with masks off, normalcy. First time in 3 years it's been somewhat normal, other than locker room access.
There you go. Well, I tend to be optimistic, but maybe said the farmer, right? If the offensive line, to your point, comes together, if they stay healthy, we can be optimistic. This is a good organization, a solid organization, one of the best in all of professional sports, and that's what we put our faith in, is the organization, not necessarily any other components. So I do expect them to be competitive, and they will go as the offensive line goes and Lamar Jackson goes. But I think the defense is going to be very good. And again, all these pieces come together. If they get a couple guys back toward the middle of the season, be it Gus Edwards or David Ojabo, Charlie Collar, who I have a high hopes for a tight end. They get some pieces towards the end of the season. If they're in position to make the playoffs, I think they're going to be in the mix. And like you, I think they're going to be a good team, not a great team, but we've seen good teams also advance deep in the playoffs and sometimes get lucky and win a Super Bowl.
We talked about Flacco playing, or Tyler Huntley playing, and he still hasn't won a game, right? Or he won the one game in Chicago I was at, because I asked some questions in the post game, as I remember it. But in regard to his value and playing him against the Arizona Cardinals or against the Washington Commanders, 32 guys sit out last week. I mean, we've talked about the value of those tickets and the value of the games and the value of the player being upright on opening day, and what that means for the Jets, that their guy's not going to be upright. What that means to the point spread with a 37-year-old quarterback with an axe to grind and a smile on his face and a lot of money, a lot of Steve Bisciotti's money in his bank account, as you would point out. The whole notion of these guys getting hurt this time of the year. I mean, my dude Ryan Jensen went down in a practice.
I know. That was terrible. I mean, that was terrible.
And we're not done with it. We're not done with it.
Yeah, we're not done with it. We have 8 tickets here at the store at Coons Ford of Baltimore. Gave away 6 to our employees. Couldn't give away the other 2. I have 2 personal seats. Couldn't give them away. They're very difficult to give away, Nestor. People just don't want to go. And I watch it on TV. I watch the whole thing on TV. And it was great.
I like Rod Woodson.
Rod is fantastic. He's a quality guy. I know you know him well. You guys have a personal relationship. I met him at a Hall of Fame dinner many years ago. Found him to be very engaging. I know he lives in the Bay Area. He told me all about his kids and just a just salt of the earth type of a guy.
The day that I met him, he had just signed with the Ravens. I don't think I've ever told this. Ray might not remember this. I haven't talked about it with him ever because I just thought about it. I found a picture of it recently when I was looking for the goose pictures. I found a picture. Rod, it was in my newsletter, the nasty newsletter, but I could never find the actual real picture. It's a little black and white thing, right? So there was a golf tournament up in is it Greystone, Northern Baltimore County? Does
Yes.
that sound
Yep.
right? Harefordy up that way.
I hold this the course record there too. Most shots ever taken in at that
Most
course
balls
too.
ever lost to the
Oh my
golf
God, yeah. I think
gods?
I shot a 156 that day.
So, not that you remember it or anything. So,
No, one of my kids said, my daddy's the best golfer in the world. He hits the ball more often than any other golfer they've ever seen doing a course of a round. So go ahead.
well, you remember when the team first came here, there were a lot of like touchdown groups, quarterback clubs,
Yeah.
all these different civic groups above and beyond Roost and Nest and whoever else was fighting like a PTA. And one of the groups was up there. I mean, it wasn't like a Ravens Foundation. None of that stuff existed. 1998, right? And I got on a golf cart and they put me with Rod. And it's not that Rod didn't want to be there, but Rod, like I'm a media guy, we're there, and it wasn't like the greatest day of our life or anything. I think we both were like, I don't love golf, and I was making small talk with him, and he knew I knew Marvin, and Marvin told him, go with Nestor, you'll be okay. And so we didn't forge our friendship that day, and he was kind of
I got you.
weirder than that, but that was the day we met.
Hey,
I met him on a golf course. So all these years later that he's my favorite Hall of Famer and that as I always say to him, he got some of this in him. You know what I'm saying?
he does.
He had a little Steeler blood in him and I guess in a good way that he brought here in the end. But I like him on the broadcast, and he's one of my favorite grown-ups
Oh,
that is a grown-up.
he's fantastic. When he grabbed Jerry Sandusky during the broadcast and showed him how to have the hands inside versus the outside, again, that's good stuff right there. It's good stuff for the fan. Yeah, to take a look at. And look, he could be a hell of a coach, but he's got all those kids, all those beautiful kids out there on the left coast. So I guess he's very busy, but I think he adds much to the telecast.
Dennis, have a good week. Have a great broadcast
Thank
on
you.
Thursday
well.
and into Sunday. I'll be joining you. It's good to have you back on the beat. I see the
Great to be
football
back.
field behind you.
Yeah,
I got
man.
the baseball stadium behind me. The sun's shining, right? I mean, I got cookies.
Yeah.
I mean, things are good here. I got crab cakes. I got beer. I'm making everybody thirsty. So it is a good summer. It's good to have our normal sort of life back as
It
well.
is.
On the car, on the Bronco Sport, click online. That's what you tell people to do.
Just
Really,
click,
at this point,
click it. Just and come to Coons Baltimore Ford. We'll make it easy for you.
that's it.
That's
Simple
it.
as that. It's not like
That's
it
all
used
you
to
do.
be.
No, different ball game.
I like here. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm so used to the old way. It's like when I go to vote, I
Hey.
want the little levers now. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to. I touched 45s and albums in Oakland, Maryland. Like I touched
you did.
actual old stuff.
Hey.
I held a book. I had a lunchbox from Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man.
I'm sure you read the book Who Moved My Cheese. Gotta find new cheese always.
All right. Well, my wife's gonna click an order. Give me what is the silver cactus?
Cactus Gray.
Cactus Gray.
Cactus Gray.
Oh, we love Dennis. He's here. He sponsors, of course, our WNST Tech Service, all sponsored by Coons Baltimore Ford. And you can find him on Thursday around here in Luke, as well as at BaltimorePositive.com. Stay with us.